Seraphina is the feminine form of the late Latin male name Seraphinus. This name comes from the biblical Hebrew word seraphim, meaning fiery ones, and referring to an order of angels that had 6 wings each. Seraphina's name literally means one who burns bright, one who burns above the rest, a star, an angel, a goddess. Seraphina's arc is one of my personal favorite ones. What happens to her is something we can all learn from, and something we can all relate to. It's something that I can't wait to dive into. So let's not waste any time. Let's finish up this series and talk about Seraphina. While I talk about Seraphina though, do keep in mind John's entire character arc, because I'll get to that at the very end. Seraphina was born into power, kind of like royalty. Seraphina's mother, Narissa, had the same ability as Seraphina, time manipulation, and had a power level of 7.4. And here's where we see how high tiers, and especially god tiers, are taught, trained, and raised. We see a conversation with Cecile and Eisen, the conversation that I love to quote, that parents of high tiers teach them the importance of power, to understand how power works and why they need it and why they need to be responsible with it. We see how Narissa teaches Seraphina. This may be an older Seraphina, but we still see how Narissa isn't great at being comforting. Narissa is cold and distant, demanding excellence from her 2 daughters. And when they don't meet her expectations, they're disgraced. You're becoming more and more reckless. At this rate, you're gonna end up a failure, just like your sister. The key word for both Seraphina and her sister is expectations. And you should expect to hear that word a lot when talking about Seraphina. As a god tier, Seraphina was expected to do everything perfectly. And she played along for most of her life. As a child, she had no choice but to work hard because, well, she didn't know any better. For as long as I can remember, I had to be perfect. Seraphina, you are not like the others. You were born gifted. You will rise above your peers. I must be stronger than everyone. I must be smarter than everyone. I must be perfect. But when you're consistently perfect, it's no longer an accomplishment. Perfection becomes an expectation. Seraphina tries her hardest to be perfect. Not because she wants to, not because she needs to, but that's what she's told to do. Fighting in turf wars because she needs to be perfect. Getting the top grades because she needs to be perfect. Perfection was what she aimed for, but not for herself. Before I knew it, I'd become so lost in people's expectations that I'd stopped living for myself. But I also came to accept that this was exactly how everything was supposed to be. Just like how the strong will always stand at the top, and the weak will forever stay at the bottom. My role was to be at the peak, and to be perfect. From her parents to her fellow students and royals, they all expected perfection from her. And she was fine with this. She thought that's how the way the world works. That people have roles that they must fulfill, that society's roles were more important than whatever you wanted to do. All that mattered was your role in society and if you fulfilled it. However, she became dissatisfied with her role. Good grades and strength don't just come from nowhere. I worked hard to get where I am. I'm the smartest, and I'm the strongest. I do everything that's expected of me. But what do I get in return? I made it. I'm at the top. So why do I still have to follow the rules? Why do I have to impress everyone? Why don't I get to do what I want? Man, I really want to do a dub. Anyways, Seraphina has been paralyzed with perfection, with expectations. These accomplishments that she's felt so proud of are now what people expect of her. She's trapped, caged, and no one cares what she wants. She doesn't even care what she wants. This is what's expected of her. So why should she complain? And while she's in this mode, she meets John. Pretty violently, actually. In fact, she beats him up for a piece of triple choco cake. But after this stellar first introduction, they are forced into doing a group project together. After they get through the first part, we see how two-sided this school is. After a 1 B-, the school starts talking crap about her, nitpicking her. This is their one chance to mock the queen, to mock the goddess, the angel, the perfectionist. Because she didn't do something perfect, we can all point and laugh. Because she didn't meet their expectations. And we see John start to sympathize with her. So this kind of thing happens here too, huh? Because she's queen, there are people watching everything she does. It's impossible to escape judgment. This kind of pressure is enough to push anyone over the edge. When we see John try and help her, they have a little chat while he's pinned up against the wall. Listen to me, John. If you don't agree to use my notes, I'll send you to the infirmary every single day, so that you'll have no chance to work, and you'll have no other choice. You would go that far for a perfect grade? Is it really worth it? Yes. Why? Do you like doing all this extra work by yourself? Or are you just trying to impress everyone around you? This wasn't supposed to be difficult. I gave you the best case scenario. Neither of us need to speak to each other, and we both walk away with an A. So why won't you just do what I say? Because I don't want to. I don't care what other people say or think of me. I don't care that I have no ability. Before coming here, I already decided that I'm gonna do whatever I can to live the way I want. This comes as a shock to Seraphina. Here comes someone with no respect for anyone or anything, doing whatever they want, living the life they want to, doing the things they want to do, not caring what other people say or think. To Seraphina, she's never thought she had this option. She didn't think she could do whatever she wanted to, live the life she wanted to. John changed her life, reminding her, or even being the first to tell her, the people around you don't matter. What others think, what others say, how they judge, what their expectations of you are, that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you want. The only thing that matters is the way you live your life, and the way that makes you happy. I don't know how he managed to drag me along. Maybe it was because, deep down, I really wanted to celebrate too. It's so ironic. The first time I'd ever decided to reward myself was for something imperfect, an A-. I think this was when I began to realize reputation isn't everything. I should focus less on how others perceive me, and more on what makes me happy. Because in the end, I have to live with myself. I know really anyone can pick up on this arc, this story, but I think it's one of the most important moments. And I'd say one of the most important messages in the story of Unordinary. At the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. So who cares what others say? Who cares that someone doesn't like who you are, how you dress, how you live life? It doesn't matter. As long as you're happy, as long as you're truly living life, then you're living life. This message is who Seraphina becomes. She lives the life she wants to. She separates from the hierarchy, leaving the position of queen to Remy, becoming the school's ace, a position that may or may not exist. I'm very confused on what the ace part means, but whatever, that doesn't matter. She skips classes, plays pig-related games for some reason, and hangs around the school crippled. She stops caring about what others say she should be, and starts being what she wants to be. This doesn't stop Seraphina from being kind of cold at the beginning of the story, not caring if Ecstatic, someone who risked his life to try to protect people, dies, and she kind of disregards his death. We see the height of how chaotic Seraphina is when she returns to Turf War, something that she left because she didn't care about it, and she shows how much she really doesn't care. In fact, this moment shows how much she stopped caring about what other people think of her. When Arlo crosses multiple lines, Seraphina challenges his authority for going too far. She attacked not only her teammate, but the king of Wellston himself, defying all authority and social status. Even the school of Agwin laughs at this encounter. Seraphina defies everyone, the royals, the school, the students. The only person she has yet to stand up to is dear old mother. During her suspension, she's sent home, where she's returned to her old life, where she's reminded of how miserable she was, how cold and distant her old life was. But this time she's changed. She's just as strong. She's just as smart and confident. But what's changed is her mindset. She stopped limiting herself. She stopped putting herself under her mother's authority, remembering that a cripple was able to stand up to the school's ace, a god tier, someone who can literally freeze and rewind time. So why can't she stand up to her mother? You know, I finally realized why Leia ran away from here. This place is cold and lifeless. Everything is objective driven. It's unbearable. You always call her the failure, probably because you don't want to admit that your actions are to blame for what happens. And when her mom attacks, Seraphina blocks it. When she's surprised, Seraphina explains, "Because I'm faster than you, obviously." While Seraphina was mainly free at the school, there was still one more shackle she had. One more thing limiting her from being truly free, from being truly happy. Look at her smile when she says, "I broke free." Proud and accomplished. She doesn't need to listen to anyone else. There's no one's expectations she needs to fulfill. She's finally free. Finally happy. But all good things must come to an end. Coming home and crashing at John's house, she is targeted and attacked, and loses her ability, her rank, her prestige. But this doesn't stop Seraphina. It takes a while for her to truly accept that she's lost her power. But one thing keeps her going. One thing keeps her from breaking down. Well, one person. John and Seraphina are now crippled together, powerless and targeted, but Seraphina keeps her chin up. If her best friend could do this for 2 years, then why can't she do it? But that's kind of the problem. Her best friend isn't exactly powerless. John is possibly as strong, if not stronger, than Seraphina. Please debate this in the comments. But John is surprisingly the one who breaks. See my last video, but John kind of turns into a monster, just to protect Seraphina. However, Seraphina isn't dumb. She's been friends with John for 2 years. And when you're friends with someone that long, you notice the little things about them. When John is shaken up after the fight with Arlo, she sees that. After John talks to Keon and is visibly shaking, she brings it up. When John stops using his hair gel, yeah, we're all happy about that, but Seraphina is confused. But knowing someone for 2 years and actually knowing someone are two different things. We see that Seraphina only saw what John wants people to see, in 2 moments. The first is the poker game, a moment I'd never really brought up, but we see Seraphina being tricked and played by both John and his dad. Something felt off though. Usually, he's so expressive and easy to understand. Yet for some reason, I couldn't see through him at all today. Instead, he was able to read me like a book. It's strange. Yeah, sure, this moment is small, but it leads to how Seraphina feels in this friendship. Seraphina trusts John wholeheartedly, but she feels like John doesn't really trust her. She sees some of his lies. John's friendship means so much to her, but she doesn't feel like he's 100% returning it. Granted, we know he absolutely adores their friendship, but the trust doesn't feel returned. John holds back from telling Seraphina the truth. We hear from John's dad that, "Your secret or whatever, I'm warning you. The longer you keep it hidden, the worse it'll get." And of course, when it erupts, it's pretty destructive. That's John. Their builds are identical. And the moves he's used, I've seen them all, because he's taught them to me. So after all this time, he isn't powerless. What else has he been keeping from me? What was real and what wasn't? Was everything a lie? Here is the moment where Seraphina actually breaks. She's lost everything. She lost her rank, her prestige, her power, her respect, everything. But now she lost the one thing that kept her going, her trust in anything. Now she's lost her trust in her best friend, the one person that kept her going, the one person that kept her happy. But doesn't that kind of sound familiar? At the beginning, I asked you to remember to keep John's character arc in mind. Now notice how similar they are, and how they mirror each other. John's story is of a crippled who gained multiple trust issues because of his power, and becomes the strongest member of a school, and is friends with the weakest member of the school, who was once the strongest member of the school. While Seraphina was once the strongest member of her school, and after losing her powers she gains multiple trust issues, now becomes the crippled, who is friends with the weakest member of the school, who has now become the strongest member of her school. While that whole statement was confusing, the point I'm trying to make is that their arcs mirror each other. Both have a tragic tale of power balance shift, and more importantly, loss of trust, especially in someone they consider very close to them. John lost his trust because of Claire, and Seraphina's losing her trust because of John. But this also bleeds into their character charts. At the beginning of Unordinary, I would have put Seraphina into chaotic neutral. She's constantly disrespecting the hierarchy and shows little care for others. While John just tries to live the best life he can, and he's constantly looking out for those who are weaker. But now the roles have switched. John is now not only constantly disrespecting the hierarchy, but he actually destroys it. He shows very little care and mercy to others. While Seraphina now just lives with the hierarchy. She's not trying to disrupt it or break it or change it. She's just living with it, becoming friends with those at the bottom and going out of her way to look out for her fellow low tiers. Unsurprisingly, Seraphina goes into neutral good. She's shifted from someone who's cold to everyone except John, to someone who's warm to low tiers, to people that she really should accept. And with this, our chart is finally finished, and the series is over. This is a bittersweet moment, to be sure. Seraphina's arc was one of my favorites, and her character has become my favorite while writing this. But moreover, Unordinary is the webtoon that made my channel blow up. Many of you are watching right now because of Unordinary. My Hardcore Leveling Warrior character chart series ended off with 70 subscribers. But now we have a little over 1,500. And sure, there are plenty of other channels that have way more, but I'm glad I have you guys here, giving me your opinion in the comments, leaving your ideas and your theories, getting mad at me when I mispronounce Blake's name, because I'm not going to change how I say it, saying hi to me and things like that. Moving forward, I won't be doing as many Unordinary videos, but there still will be some in the future. I actually have one planned for in 2 weeks. So if you're only here for Unordinary, I understand. It's a great series, it's a great webtoon. But stick around. I might have something you really enjoy later down the line. And if you want me to do a certain webtoon, or even a new kind of style of video, then let me know. I'll do a poll in a few videos. But like always, thank you for watching.